By default, when you create an access control list, that access control list is active all the time. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's say you've applied it for traffic filtering on an interface, or you've applied it to a VTY line, or you've applied it for classification purposes for policy-based routing. Well, that permit is active 24/7. That deny is active 24/7. But what if you wanted to control based on time when it was permit and when it was deny? You can do that by using time-based access control list. Now, that's just a fancy way of saying that we've applied a time range to an access control list we created. So there's not a whole lot more you have to learn here in regards to time-based access control lists, except here are your time ranges, this is how you configure them, and this is how you apply them to an access control list. So here's an example of creating a time range. You go to global configuration mode, you specify the command time range, and then give it a name. And then you can specify the time range within the time range configuration mode. It could be an absolute time range saying it's going to start now or start at this particular time and date and end at this particular time and date. So it's only going to be activated for that point in time. Or you can do periodic, meaning that you could set it up so that way there every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. this is going to happen, but after hours it's not allowed to happen. You can set it up just for weekends and so on and so forth. It's going to be a reoccurring time range. You can set it up for every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between this time and this time. We're going to allow connectivity from this device to this device to perform backups. So you have control now based on these time ranges. So how do you apply them to the access control list? It's simple. Once you've set up your access control list, look at this additional option you have, time range. So you're setting up your access control list. Let's say it's access control list 100, permit this particular protocol from this source to this destination using this particular port number at this time range. So you're just calling upon the time range in the access control list. So you can do this again with named access control lists as well, because you're just adding that particular time range into the command itself. So let's look at an example here. Now, what I want you to realize is that this example may not make perfect sense to you. You might be going through it and saying, well, why are they denying HTTP traffic at this time range? Well, it's just for demonstrative purposes. So don't look too deeply into when the traffic is being permitted or denied from a real-world standpoint. Just look at the configuration and walk through it with me. So here we have our time range that's saying no HTTP. So they've named it no HTTP. When is this time range in effect? Well, it's a periodic time range, and it's weekdays from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. They also have another time range called UDP-yes, okay? And it's periodic as well on weekends from 12 p.m. Why do I know it's 12 p.m. and not 12 a.m.? Because 12 a.m. would be 0000. So it's 12 p.m. in the afternoon, noon hour, and it is going to last until 8 p.m. at night. Now, something to realize here is that this time value, when you specify, for example, 1,800 hours or 2,100 hours, does it stop at that point in time, like right at 1,800? No. No, what it does is it includes that particular minute. So between 1,800 hours and 1801, right, this is still in effect. It's still active at this point in time. So if you had to be very, very specific and you wanted it to stop exactly at 6 o'clock, you would have to specify 1,700 hours and 59 minutes. Because the minute from 59 until 000, that is included in this. So 1759 includes that one extra minute between 59 and when it rolls over to 1800. So keep that in mind when you're doing your time ranges. Let's apply it. So we're creating an access control list here. It's an extended named access control list. And what's it called? It's called strict. All right, so it's pretty strict in this case. And they are denying TCP traffic from any source going to any destination equal to HTTP, so port 80, and it's going to be based on the time range of no HTTP. So we are going to be denying this HTTP traffic from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So that means anybody who's at work between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. are not going to be able to access web pages. Permit UDP any time range UDP yes. So we're going to allow all UDP traffic from any source to any destination between 12 p.m. and 8 p.m. on the weekends. And now we're going to apply it. And we apply the access control list to our interface, and it's with the IP access group command, and we're calling upon the access control list, which is called strict, and we're applying it inbound on our interface. So the only new thing, if you weren't familiar with it, is this time range. Specifying the time range and how you do it, either periodic time range or an absolute time range, and then you just apply it. Just simply apply it with the time range parameter to the access control entry.